If you are new to the jewelry trade and you're a designer wanting to work in precious metal like sterling silver and gold, but you don't know all that much about the actual manufacturing process, I know that it can feel naturally challenging and somewhat scary. Trust me, we've worked with so many startup jewelry designers, and I empathize that sometimes we need to explain how the production works so that they can understand why we suggest what we do, and that when we answer any of their questions, it can all make sense to them. Even if you have a vision and a clear business objectives on what you want your designs to look like or how you're going to go about marketing and selling your jewelry, in my experience with working with many new jewelry designers, I do believe that it's important to understand the key processes involved in jewelry making. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly what goes on in my manufacturing plant in Thailand when we're producing beautiful jewelry for our designer customers. If you're new to this channel, hello, I'm Kim, owner of Thai Design Distributors, a third-generation family business since 1975, where we own a manufacturing plant in Thailand specializing in producing sterling silver and gold jewelry exclusively for designers. And we've always had our headquarters in London and now expanded to include a sales and support office in the US. Do check out my introduction video where it explains more about my background in the jewelry trade and the purpose of this channel. Now, I've been working in the business for about 18 years now, and we're really fortunate that along with the experience that we have with continuous investment in research, innovation, and technology, we've also been able to maintain the traditional art of handmade jewelry, which, to be honest with you, in this day and age can be hard to find. I'll try to illustrate the process by using lots of pictures and videos. I'm more of a visual person, so I hope this will also help you understand jewelry manufacturing a little better. So let's say I have a customer send us a finalized CAD design, or I've created the CAD for them from their sketch. What would happen is the file of that CAD would then be sent to a 3D printer, which would produce a castable resin or wax for us to either form a silicone or a rubber mold, if we're using that form to make a master, or we would cast directly from the resin or wax and use that as the master to then make a rubber mold. It really depends on the design and what my production team believes is the best approach in order to achieve the best quality results for the customer. But let's just go back and break it down a little bit, because this really is where the casting process more or less begins. If we decide to create a mold from either a metal master or a resin model, their design will have its own crafted mold. So that means that would be safely stored to ensure that exclusivity is always maintained. So we would fill the mold with a high performance wax, wait a few seconds for the wax to cool, and then we'd delicately open the mold and remove a perfect wax copy. Let's say we have an order for this design of 20 pieces. So that process is repeated 20 times, and we then very precisely build what we call a wax tree. This requires a lot of skill because the positioning and placement of each design that's on what we call a sprue can impact or affect the ended casted result. After this, an investment material is added to the flask around this wax tree, which we then heat in a large furnace for vacuum casting and an exact temperature using specific formulas. It stays in there generally overnight before it's then taken directly into the casting machine. And this is where we pour all the metal and alloys into the flask, filling the voids of where the wax had been. After we've allowed all the metal to melt, we then cool it to a point within the machine, and then we take it out for final quench, basically rinse off any remaining investment material. Now, as far as the jewelry design is concerned, if we're talking about smaller, detailed items that's, for example, 3D in shape, well, this would be perfect for casting. But at my manufacturing plant, we also do a lot of stamping, which is great for other pieces such as lockets, keyrings, cufflinks, or larger silverware like pillboxes, bookmarks, silver spoons, etc. So in that case, we use metal blocks that we roll into the required thickness, and then we cut it into size ready for stamping. We've got lots of different machines for various usage, and that allows us to be flexible in what we want to use. So, for example, a die-cast stamping machine is great to use for deeper pieces, but we also have old school, more traditional machines that we utilize. Whether we've used the casting or stamping method, the next step would be filing and assembling the jewelry pieces together. The sprues that I mentioned earlier that went on the wax tree, those would need to be carefully cut off, and really lots of various tasks are done here. So whether it's filing down the pieces to give a smooth textural finish, or precisely soldering other components together, such as jump rings, bails, T-bars, hinges, etc. And it all depends on the design that we're making. The pieces may be filed first, then assembled together, and then back for the final touch-up for the filing. It all depends on the design and whether we view it as a more complex or a simple piece. We also cut natural shells and stones in-house. So whether that's mother of pearl shells or large blocks of stones, we would first roughly cut, say, a small portion of the stone on a wet saw, and then each cut piece is then shaped and ground down under an abrasive wheel. Again, this requires a really high level of skill, and I'm always impressed at how each tiny little shell or stone has to be precisely cut and shaped like an exact puzzle piece to then be added to the sterling silver or solid gold design. It's the same with our stone setting and engraving, where it's all done by hand using traditional methods. So in that particular department, we'll have stone gems expertly set into pieces and beautiful yet complex patterns that are hand engraved. The last stage of our manufacturing production is the polishing, and in this department, we have a team of polishers who will apply that final touch to the piece. And typically, my customers would request for a high polish finish. So again, this will be done by hand. Other customers might prefer a more matte finish, which will produce a more textural and organic look. So in which case, we might use an automated barrel polishing machine with or without hand polishing. There's many different finishes, and some of our customers are very particular with the finish texture that they desire. So we'll just utilize the appropriate polishing methods for that requirement. All these stages of production are applied to orders that we do in solid gold too. So I just want to point out that our gold production is separate from orders of the sterling silver production. And this is just because of the higher value in gold metal and making sure that we separate any waste recovery. So as I've guided you through the manufacturing process, hopefully you can see and understand that it is a complex procedure. You've got your complex scientific formulas and calculations with the casting process and mixing of alloys, all the way through to the artistic skill of building the designs on the wax tree. The precise cutting of stones and shells and the various filing and polishing methods that we need to apply really carefully so that we can retain all the intricate details of the design we're making. I personally have always had this deep appreciation and pride, if I'm honest with you, for jewelry manufacturing. Because if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes of how detailed each process can be, I would be clueless to know how much work and effort goes into making each piece. So I just hope that being able to share this video with you will help you understand the various skills that's required in making jewelry. And the objective is that it will help you when you're communicating to your supplier about the designs that they're making for you. I know it's a lot of information that I've covered here, guys. Please note that all of this is also on our Thai Design website, so feel free to check that out whenever you need to. If you have any questions, be sure to drop it in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe for all my latest videos that are still to come. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.